Hello and welcome to Veterans Medals Workshop, where we have a very interesting show today. We're going to take a look at the brand new military ribbon guide that has just come out, and it covers all the military ribbons of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the United States Marine Corps, the Space Force, and the Coast Guard. And as a bonus, even the Merchant Marine going back to World War II. And if you are ever having a problem figuring out what certain ribbons are or what the correct order is, you'll find the answer in here. Plus, it carries all of the United Nations ribbons, authorized military personnel, and all of the NATO ribbons authorized, as well as the new C and R devices and the new bronze, silver, and V for the Air Force. I think you'll find this really interesting. So I'm going to walk you through the book. Stick with me to the end, and I'll show you a way to go online and even flip through the book. So, okay, come on, let's go. The booklet is the only complete order of precedence guide for all 6 services of the United States Armed Forces. Opens with a short introduction and how to use guide. It then moves to a unique reference chart. It shows all of the United States military ribbons issued since the beginning of a civil war, all the way up to the very latest global war on terror and inherent resolve medals. Let's say you were trying to identify some of the older United States military ribbons. If you look at the ribbons on the right, you can easily see up, just above the top ribbon, you can see the reference to the American Defense ribbon, which identifies it. And then just above that, or just to the right of it, the American Campaign Medal, then the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, the ETO Medal, the Victory Medal, and you can identify every ribbon that has ever been issued in the United States military. Starting with the United States Army is a chart that shows all United States Army ribbons along with the devices that are authorized for each one of those ribbons. And on the right-hand side is a chart that shows the correct order of multi-service ribbons for wear on the Army uniform, to include, if you'll note at the very bottom, that the following awards may not be worn on the Army uniform, and it has a list of non-authorized awards. Chart then allows you to identify any set of Army ribbons to make sure that they're in the correct order and that it has a correct device mounted on it. And you can see here that there's a reference for each ribbon in this ribbon rack. Next comes the United States Navy ribbon and device chart, which shows all of the United States Navy ribbons since 1939 in the correct order of precedence, along with the devices that are authorized. And on the right-hand side is the Navy order of precedence for any other ribbon from other services which Navy personnel may wear. And in the bottom right-hand side is a list of awards that are not authorized on the Navy uniform. For example, the chart lets you quickly identify a World War II Navy Good Conduct Medal and where it is in the order of precedence, and then over to the right, the Navy Expeditionary Medal, and then down in the lower left, the United Nations Medal awarded for service in Korea. You'll notice that there are several foreign awards, the more common ones, shown on the Navy chart. The United States Marine Corps ribbon and device chart allows easy identification of any ribbon rack and to make sure that whatever device is on there is correct. And then the Marine Corps order of precedence for other services is shown on the right, to include a list of awards that are not authorized in the Marine Corps. Example, this World War II Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal is identified in its proper location before the China Service Medal, and it shows that the W for Wake Island and the 2 stars for campaign, silver and bronze, are authorized. If you'll look to the right of the ribbon chart, you'll see a row of devices and with a small number underneath, and that gives you a reference to more details about each one of the devices, and I'll show you that a little bit later. There's a current United States Air Force ribbon and device chart shown here on your left, which allows you to easily identify any medal or ribbon awarded by the United States Air Force going all the way back to World War II when it was the Army Air Force. Well, before it was too expensive for the Army. Then for the first time anywhere is the new current United States Space Force ribbons and device chart. And the United States Space Force has the same relationship to the Air Force as basically as the United States Marine Corps has to the U.S. Navy. For right now, the only exception to United States Air Force ribbons is the Space Force Good Conduct Medal, which is brand new and shown here in the chart. On the right-hand side is the United States Coast Guard ribbon and devices, to include the famous O device, if you can catch over on the right-hand side. More details on the devices in just a moment. A really unique feature for the naval forces are the ribbon racks for the right breast display on full dress uniforms for the United States Navy, which is, one goes inboard to outboard and the other goes inboard to outboard or outboard to inboard. I'll let you read the booklet and find out the correct way. But it shows it for the United States Navy, the United States Marine Corps, and the United States Coast Guard. On the upper right-hand side of the page is a complete set of United Nations ribbons that are authorized for wear by the United States military personnel. The original authorized ribbons and the new set authorized as of 30 September 2011. On the lower side of the page is a complete set of NATO ribbons and attachments and the explanation as to which ones you can wear with what and which ones come with devices which are not authorized to U.S. personnel. But there's an explanation of what is authorized. The next 4 pages are a series of charts that show all of the United States military ribbon devices used since World War I, and it is cross-indexed back with those ribbon charts that you saw a little earlier for the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Space Force, and United States Air Force. Each device is cross-indexed with each one of the ribbon charts you've seen earlier, and the full name of the device is shown along with the branch of the service uses it, of course, which ribbon it is worn on. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner examples of the new C and R device and how they are mounted. Of course, each one of the services often uses the devices in a different way. For example, the placement of a letter V is shown here for the Army, the old U.S. Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the new Air Force award of a V device. And then, for example, how the placement of devices on the Armed Forces Reserve Medal is done, depending on how many times you've been mobilized. There's also detailed examples of how, campaign stars are placed on the ribbons for each one of the services and how you place an arrowhead for an assault landing, how the new C and R devices are used, and then, of course, aside from the 6 services, then you also have the placement of devices on Department of Defense joint decorations, which gives you a 7th variation of how to use your, devices on different ribbons. And since the United States Merchant Marine was authorized combat veteran status as of World War II, we've included a list of their ribbons. And then to wrap it all up, there's a chart of all United States and foreign medals commonly awarded since World War II. And then on the right, service notes on wearing military ribbons on the various uniforms. If you'd like to take a little more time and flip through the book, just go to www.Medals of America Press, scroll down the page to the Military Ribbon Guide and click on it. And that will take you to a description of the book. To flip through it, just click on the image and you can view it in Flipbook. You can then click through a number of example pages and get see what you like, and if there's any questions that you have about different charts, gives you a chance to look at them in a little more detail. You will find this only on Medals of America Press website or on Amazon, and it replaces 2 previous editions, which are now completely obsolete. So you really do not want these anymore. They don't cover the Space Force, and they don't cover the very latest ribbons and devices. And if you enjoyed the show, please give us a like. Even better, subscribe, and we look forward to having you join us again. Thank you.